Hello, teachers and students of the English-Ukrainian Bilingual Program in River East Transcona. A couple of years ago, we started on a wonderful journey of artistic exploration with artist Ben Wasylyshen, and we thought we would do an inquiry project on Ukrainian stained glass. It all started here in Ben Wasylyshen's garden, which is a wonderland of stained glass and natural beauty. And I just want you to remember, children, how it was when we were here a couple of years ago exploring this first step of our journey. So let's go with Ben and have a look at his garden. Hello, Pan Ben. I'm wanting to remind the children of how it was here in your garden when we first came here a couple of years ago. Could you give us a trip down memory lane, please?
Hello students, Vitaimo, welcome back to Pan Ben's Garden Studio of art and nature and stained glass and music and studying the beauty of nature. So I'm going to bring you back, it's been a couple of years, but I'm bringing you back into my magic garden to see some of my stained glass projects and plant projects. We might see a rabbit or a butterfly or all kinds of nature here in this tour. I hope you have some fond memories when you were here and we had drawing classes and nature appreciation. This one, sculpture and steel and stained glass, is called Song to the Moon from the opera Rusalka by Dvorak. You remember that, a song to the moon. And that was a Slavic composer, and it is close to our hearts, being and studying in the Ukrainian bilingual program for arts and culture. So come along and we're going to see more stained glass.
Okay, Pan Ben.
Okay, we're back in another part of the garden with more stained glass, and we're going to take a look at it from several vantage points, which has motifs from songs and folklore of Ukrainian, the song, the moon, the stars, and berries. It is all here with this tree that is showing us, the sumac is showing us these red, almost kalena-like berries. Look at the kvite, dite. Dite moi kvite, Shevchenko wrote. And here we are talking about students who participated in education here in the garden and in the studio. And look at this September of 2021, and the garden is in full bloom. We're back. Look at this, the magic of stained glass. We just showed you how stained glass reacts to light and shadow. So now the windows which you previously saw with the motifs of sun and moon and sky and water and rivers is now here from a different vantage point, where we see the magic and the color from inside the building looking out into the garden. Look at this. You can see the garden in the background. You can see the lakes and the rivers, and you can see the moon and the planet Earth. Which one is it? And Mars, the planets of Mars. And look at this one. You know what this one is. It's the sun rising. So this is really exploring the magic of stained glass and color and light with all the motifs that we read about from Ukrainian folklore. We're going to keep going now into another part of the garden, and look at this. You may recall this, students. This is the back of another sculpture, and it is about what? Let's see if you can guess, studente. Що це є? We studied what these sculptures mean. This is a family. It's in steel and stained glass. And look at it. It's really a nice piece that is sitting in the middle of this fern garden. We're going to move on now to other parts of the garden. You remember we drew angels' wings as a part of our study of stained glass and churches. This plant is called Angel's Trumpet, and it is blooming for you today. Wow. Look at that. Look at that. A garden portal where we see bits of colors from the garden and our heritage, the rich red, rich blue, the lake, the sparkling sky, and the berries.
You know, Ben, if I could interrupt you just for a moment, I'm really interested in all this color in Ukrainian everything. And I'm wondering, you said that that rich blue and rich red come from your culture. Could you explain what you mean by that?
Well, the Ukrainian people are very strongly tied to color and dyes that they made from nature, let's say from berries, historically, a couple hundred years back, that they created dyes for their embroidery. The reds, such as this red and rust, are important because they're passionate, and people of Ukrainian descent and throughout history have been very passionate about their causes, about their music, about what they saw in art and their icons and so forth. So therefore color has been so very important, and they found ways to express it in their houses, in their embroidery, in their costumes, dance, and in just about everything they have done. But it's the nature of the people to explore color, the blues of the water and the rivers that were so crucial to people in Ukraine and now in Manitoba, and the magnificent skies. There we go. And the magnificent trees. And this has all been very important. So the people express the joy of the blue sky, the blue water, the golden wheat fields.
Oh, you've got wheat as well, and I've noticed there's an awful lot of wheat symbolism
Yes.
in your windows and in our children's designs as well. Can you tell us about the importance of wheat?
Well, it is tied to the culture where the Ukrainian people in parts of Ukraine and when they came to Canada were tied to agriculture. So they were and are agrarian people in part. And they have so much appreciation for wheat, which is a symbol of life and prosperity and a necessity because we must provide food and have to feed ourselves and feed the people around us. So that's why it is so strongly tied from Europe to Canada, because we've all had such great soil conditions that people could grow the wheat. There are people who came from Europe also had tremendous skills in being able to effectively grow the plant so successfully because they knew how to work. So we're going to go closer to the studio and you'll see more of that wheat.
I'm in Ben's studio looking out at that great garden we just visited. And I just can't believe how beautiful it is. I am sure that's why he's created his studio here, so he can get inspired by nature all the time. Let's have a look at what's inside here. You can see Ben over there, right in the corner. And there's a lot of stuff to look at here. I've got art on the wall. Ben is here at a table. What do you have to say about this?
Well, Students, this is how an artist goes through the process of making beautiful drawings and images and eventually stained glass windows by being inspired by something. We just gave you a tour of the garden and all those symbols and colors and wonderful things that cause an artist to turn his or her attention to paper with the pencil. Що це є? Це є олівець, так? Папер, олівець. You take all of that, these materials, and turn your attention. Now, in the case of these new drawings that I'm doing for your school division, commemorative drawings, they are based on everything you've seen and the inspiration, of course, the anniversary of the River East School Division, English-Ukrainian Bilingual Program, but it's inspired by your drawings, students, all the drawings we have done over the years that we have retained, and here are some here, that we've retained, and of course we published, look at this, we published them in a coloring book that now is distributed everywhere for other teachers and students to enjoy. So this was a very exciting project as I am moving through the coloring book. I'm inspired by all the work you did and applying little bits and details to the windows that I'm assembling for you. So I have, if you look at these gorgeous pieces of glass.
Wow,
Honey,
look at
Ingrid,
those colors.
Look at this. Now, what I do in front of this big window, I also take all the colors that are inspiring. We talked about blues of the skies and the rivers and the greens of the trees, and then the reds and oranges of the sun and the berries, all a part of what we have studied in your special classes. So I put them out here to see how beautiful they are with the light coming through this window. And then I make notes to see where, look at this beautiful gold, gold,
Wow.
gold, 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 gold. And this particular glass has a texture, so I like that because it will sparkle when you walk through the hallways of your schools and it catches some light. It's going to be very beautiful for you to look at.
I have a question, Ben. Do you make this glass yourself or do you order it from somewhere?
Well, the making of glass is a very complicated thing that comes from special factories that make colored glass. And it is made with sand and extreme heat and special kinds of minerals and elements to create certain kinds of colors. So I order the glass because I can't manufacture it. Only a few special factories in Europe and North America make the glass. But then I order it based on the colors that are appropriate. And for this project for River East School Division, then we're going to look at those things that are important to what we've talked about in our lectures and studies of Ukrainian imagery and folklore, the reds, the blues, the golds, the greens, and certain kinds of images. I invented a new image for you, and this is the book. The book and the coloring book abstraction that I'm going to incorporate. These are open books. How beautiful, I think. So here's your coloring book that you students all were a part of. And this is a stylized version of that book that will be a part of the 3 windows, that will be a part of your school interior environments.
I kind of like the symbolism of the open book because it's illuminating just like glass.
Yes, you got that, Pani Ingrid. It is illuminated. Books are important to all of us. We never stop learning. You students are in your young days of learning. Our whole process of building that coloring book was a special project, and it was about learning. And as artists, as we continue on in our lives, we never stop learning. We never stop reading books, acquiring books, and bringing that knowledge into what we do on a continuous basis. A drawing by a student, a partial drawing of an angel, and then look at this sculpture I created with stained glass.
Wow.
And in this space, I explore all the possibilities to include your work into my work to make something special for you. So here are more drawings that are being prepared. These are the exact size of the windows.
Wow.
Wow. And they have all the images that we've talked about, some of the images, and here's the drawings that I'm applying from the coloring book, which is all your work, students, that we liked so much. And so this is the early stage. Now, I have to go on, spend a lot of time on these drawings, and I have to develop the lead lines where the lead is going to be, and then
so you actually, when you draw a line with your pencil, that's where the lead goes.
That's where the lead goes, which is like a piece of metal that joins 2 pieces of colored glass together.
Right.
So I have to draw it, measure it, and prepare it in its exact shape so that we can trace a pattern and then cut the glass to fit this initial design drawing.
Wow, that looks like a really big piece there.
Well, the whole thing is about 52 inches high.
Yeah.
And it looks like it's 25 inches wide. So they're made for a specific size.
Yep.
And that's what an artist has to do. You have to be very specific with your work. Now, even to the side here, see, this one is a plant motif that one of you students
drew. That looks like a sheaf of wheat coming out
and
there.
a sheaf of wheat coming out here. Here's some angel's wings that you studied and drew. Now, this one here is a star.
Oh yeah, we had a lot of stars.
We had a lot of stars in our lectures and our art classes, and so the star is appearing in a big way for this panel, and these two we're going to complement one another, and there's going to be a big, beautiful sun. We studied the sun. There's going to be a moon.
Wow.
In each of these, and there's going to be...
And of course we got the books on the bottom.
We've got the books, because books are important in
they sure are.
Study. And that's why we have libraries.
Yeah.
Then there's going to be a part of Ukrainian folklore. There is going to be Ukrainian embroidery.
Wow.
And that is a part of what we are inspired by, that we can apply it to stained glass. That's like cross stitch, right?
Sure.
It's like cross stitch. And I'm going to find for here beautiful red. Aha! I think I have it. It's going to be a beautiful red It's
Wow,
going to be a
that's gorgeous
beautiful
color.
red color
Yeah.
to show the traditional embroidery of red. And the lead looks a little bit black, gray, so it's red and black and white. And it's going to be a beautiful explanation or suggestion of embroidery from our folklore.
Hello, students of English-Ukrainian Bilingual Program in River East Transcona School Division. It is now January, and Ben Wasylyshen has been working for a long time at things, and he's got me out here at a place called Prairie Stained Glass on Sargent Avenue. And there's a whole pile of stuff to look at here. And would you believe he's already finished Prince Edward's windows? Look at these. They're going to be just stunning, I think, when they're up in your school. This is one that's going to be on one side of your door. And then there's one next door to it that looks like this. And that's going to be at the other side of your door. So I think Ben's done some really, really neat stuff here.
You want to do
Our
that?
last look at these windows are Prince Edward's, which were completed before I got here today. Now, Ben, you were going to tell me a little bit about what happened to make this design. Whoa.
Well, it's a very happy process, and it started years ago with the students when you came to my studio and garden, and then we looked at nature and plants and moons in the sky and the river and the gardens, greens and the flowers and the wheat and so forth. All of that you saw in my garden, and then we had drawing classes and painting classes.
We did.
During COVID, we were outside, and we were doing all kinds of wonderful things. And then remember, we made a coloring book.
We did too.
We published a coloring book that all you students in the River East School Division shared with programs across the country.
Right.
So now, some of these images, like these flowers and branches, there's more over here. These are zirka. These are a star pattern that many of the students...
That's right. I remember seeing those stars.
Yeah. So this is a star, and that's a branch and tree, and the other one has a wheat pattern. But they all have at the bottom embroidery, which is a part of the foundation of the languages that the children are learning.
Yeah.
Then we have green, and this grid is like a reference to linen.
Oh, I see.
All your shirts, all your embroidered veshoka, veshavanya, like what I'm wearing here is a linen.
Right.
And it's a cross pattern that is woven to allow embroidery then to be installed. Right. In this case, we're referring to that through glass, which is quite cool.
Very cool.
And then here are your books, students. Open books.
That's right.
Then we have knowledge. We have learning.
And that lets in light, which is what
And
the windows
it's going to glow. The sun just turned around here on the street.
Yep.
But it's going to come back, and wow. Stained glass windows are alive.
That's fantastic.
They're not static.
No.
They're not, they may look flat, but they have energy, which makes them three-dimensional, and they change all day long. So you students are going to have a great deal of enjoyment, I hope, to see all the changes. There's some, look at this fabulous sun.
Oh, it's beautiful.
And then this is another planet here, and the moon. And the sky as it gets darker as the evening approaches.
Okay, students, I'm here filming Pan Ben, and he's got an assistant who's going to be working with him called Matthew McMillan. Matthew McMillan
is my friend.
Oh, isn't that great?
Design, build, fasten, install windows. So students, Pan Ben is here.
Yeah.
And we're working on your third window for the River East School Division.
Wow,
Under
now
COVID protocol, and we're trying our best to get it done for you
right.
in January. Look at this. So Matthew, come on and join me.
I'm going to see if I can
Look
get
at this.
this from up above. It's pretty hard. But
Yes.
I'll try.
I'm what Pani Ingrid is going to do is watch us. Matt is going to go. This is a soldering gun.
Wow.
Lead separates.
Yeah.
Lead separates.
Right. So that's how it looks at the beginning.
At the beginning, lead, carefully chosen, correct size lead is chosen to hold the glass pieces together.
Okay.
And we can have fun with thick lead and narrower lead, and all in all, we have to be careful because it has to be strong. It has to be beautiful, but it also has to be strong. So, I'm going to carefully place this down, and you can see the pieces of colored glass that have been cut and ground and fit to size. Now everything's got to fit together like
Sure.
a jigsaw puzzle.
Right.
That's the way it works.
So you started from a drawing like this?
Here's the drawing.
Wow.
Then we had all these beautiful glasses. Students, you might remember that I showed you in your lectures. And some of you students are going to recognize your images from your stained glass coloring book are all in this section, as well as the other two windows. That's all student work, student patterns of leaves, wheat, pszenica, plant.
Where's the wheat?
These are kernels of
yes,
wheat
of course.
that came together, plus other leaves.
Right.
And then the students will remember the sun
Yeah.
and the moon
Yeah.
and the, what else did we find? What did we call this, Matt? The planet Mars? No, Mars is not bluish. Pluto, Neptune, and Pluto, and the moon. Here's the gorgeous big sun, which you'll see there. So they all have a meaningful, here are the books, the symbolic books that students learn from.
That is so interesting.
And then this is Ukrainian embroidery.
Oh,
Yellow,
how beautiful.
yellow and white with cross stitch. So we did a bit of that. And like we studied in nature and in the gardens and in my gardens, we looked at green and blue from the river, from the garden. And as we go up higher, we see wheat fields from the embroidery, which is like a foundation for the design. Then we had wheat fields and plants and your drawings. And then we come up to the sky at night with these beautiful blues and purples and planets. So that's a part of the story. Hey, look at this. EU, BP, English-Ukrainian Bilingual Program since 1980.
That is so great.
Matthew and I are making them so they last a long time.
Yeah. Oh,
Okay.
beautiful. You're going to be over here, and I'm going to be looking at what you're doing right now. Look at those tattoos. They match the windows.
There you go.
Matthew's a creative guy, so I guess he loves nature.
Yeah.
So I think he surprised me after Christmas.
There you go.
Okay, so this is very important. Here he goes.
Here we go.
These pieces have been cut and ready to go like a jigsaw puzzle.
Right.
Okay?
Okay, Matthew.
So
Show us
these
how
have
you
all
do
been
it.
cut and ground to size so that they fit our pattern exactly.
Right.
And now we have to introduce the individual pieces to the rest of the piece here. So they go in individually, one by one. You probably want to shop right here, actually.
You think I want to go in here and see what we can do.
Now, students, you'll see how this works. That's the top of the window design.
Over there.
So we work our way down.
Okay.
So it's like building bricks
Yeah.
in the wall of a building.
Right.
So we work our way. You can't go everywhere and do a little bit here, a little bit there. You work your way down.
Uh-huh.
It all comes in one direction.
Right.
You're not going back and forth.
Right. I guess that makes sense if it all's supposed to hold together, right?
Yeah, well, the big thing is that the lead has a channel in
Yeah.
it. That channel is going to actually allow the glass to be slid into
Oh,
place.
look at this. I want to see a real
Oh, this is
close-up
what
of
I was
that.
getting
I
at.
see, yeah.
So you'll see
Yeah,
there's your channel.
and
The
that's what you
glass
put the
actually
glass in.
locks in that way.
Right, makes perfect sense.
And that way the glass doesn't fall out of place.
Yeah, which of course we don't want after all this work.
Nope. So this is a tried and true method that's been done since literally the medieval times. So
It's so
the
amazing.
technology is
Has
the
not
same.
changed, yeah.
Yeah. So like this window should be good,
Incredible,
structurally speaking, for about 80 to 100 years,
wonderful.
and then we can rejuvenate
And then we can
it at that
repair
point.
it, right?
Yep.
Yeah?
So yeah, every piece goes in one by one,
Look at that.
and then we've got a special set of cutters
Yeah.
that allow us to cut the lead two
Okay,
sides.
yeah.
So these are pre-cut, but I can just show you the cutting.
Wow.
Basically goes through the channel like so.
Yeah,
And the lead's very soft, so we can actually bend it
wow.
in nice curves and or
Yeah.
straight pieces,
Yeah.
whatever we'd like. So yeah, every piece of lead is very precisely cut, placed, and then the next piece can come in.
So the more preparation we do ahead of time, careful preparation, the smoother this will go.
The construction goes better, right?
Construction goes better. It's just like a building.
Of course.
It's like a big building.
Yeah, and you just slide it in there like
So
a
we
puzzle
have
piece.
posts and beams and
Yeah.
windows and doors,
Yeah.
so to speak.
I don't
And see,
think-
that's a lot of preparation of,
Oh, yeah, and you have to measure each one of those
and you
pieces,
measure
right?
it
Yeah.
ahead. So it looks very simple now,
It does,
but
but it's not.
well, it's not quite that simple.
No, I can see that.
These are the beautiful greens of the garden and the earth.
That is gorgeous.
And then you might look at them and say, well, they look, I don't see the light yet and the sparkle, and that's because it's sitting on a piece of plywood workshop. But when we finish it and put it in the window, like you'll see the other two windows, wow.
This is really amazing. So exciting.
It's very exciting. And it took us a long time to get here in the process with the
I
River
bet.
East School Division.
I know, we've had all sorts of COVID problems.
We've had
haven't we?
COVID problems.
And here we are again in the middle of COVID.
Here we are again, and we're being very careful. We're all
Yeah, we're all
vaccinated
spaced and
and
vaccinated,
spaced, and we're trying to
And we're-
create some art.
and we're masked.
And we're masked. We have to be. And
Yeah.
students, you might remember our outdoor classes during COVID,
Yeah,
and our outdoor lectures.
look at that. So what are you doing there? You're just,
This is just a temporary fastening,
okay, so that it doesn't move
so it
around.
doesn't squirm while we're
'Cause
soldering.
I bet you have to heat this lead somehow, right?
Yeah,
Yes.
we're gonna do that next.
Okay, and
So
then it
that's
kind of
hot, and these nails
hold things in
hold
place.
things in place because when the heat comes on that soft solder,
Yeah,
it dances around a bit
I bet it does.
sometimes.
Yeah, fun little
Right.
side note, that's actually a horseshoe nail.
Holy dynamite.
So
Very cool.
that's what they would shoe horses with.
Yeah,
But we happen to use them for stained glass too.
yeah, and we reuse them and reuse them.
Can you pause it?
That is so,
Awesome.
Matthew is going to start showing us how he puts these pieces of lead together and solders them so that the glass doesn't fall out. What are you painting on there, Matthew?
That's a flux. So what it does is it cleans the surface of the metal and allows us to solder
Okay,
more easily.
right,
So we've got lead-based solder
yeah,
and soldering iron. So the soldering iron's running about 900 degrees Fahrenheit.
holy dynamite, that's
So
hot.
you don't want to be touching the metal component
No,
here. But yeah, this is going to allow us to attach all the lead pieces to their neighbors.
now why do you need that other little piece that you're holding in your left hand?
This is solder, so the solder
Uh-huh.
is
Oh,
making
I
the
see,
junction.
okay, that's
Yeah.
what it
Like
does.
it's almost like a glue metal.
Yeah,
And then it does its job when it's a real hot.
right, I see that,
That is your mechanism for attaching.
yeah.
The lead itself
So that's why when we see windows, there's a little flat part on all those joining pieces, right?
Yes.
I get it.
The lead itself doesn't melt until about 1100, 1200 degrees.
That's amazing.
Now, part of the magic with the stained glass and when we design and make these windows and build them, you'd think that the lead is a problem. It's not a problem. It's necessary. But also, when you put the window up to the light and let the light come through it, you almost don't even notice it.
Yeah.
Because the color of the glass and the magic and the light that is created by natural light coming through the stained glass art takes over.
Right.
So we're not bothered. We just know we have to include it.
Amazing.
Because it's got to be strong.
Well, sure, of course it does. This looks really, really precious. Now I noticed that that last green piece doesn't go all the way to the bottom. There's going to be another piece down below, eh?
Yes.
Uh-huh.
Where, sorry?
Below the
no.
green. There
Yeah.
looks like there's another little piece there that's going to
No,
go
so
in.
this is just excess material.
It'll
Oh,
get
okay,
cut
so you
It'll be
cut it
trimmed
off.
off.
So that's actually the last piece of this
That's
window.
the end, yeah.
That's
it's,
wonderful.
You'll notice it's a bigger dimension than
It
the
is,
YouTube.
yeah, sure enough.
And
So the
what we
perimeter gets
do
that.
Yeah,
is we have planned ahead.
yes,
Artists and designers and artisans have to plan ahead.
Right.
Matt and I know when
Right.
we come to the school,
yeah,
when these are all polished and
Right.
cleaned. These things are called stops, wood stops, and they're
Wow.
gonna hold the window together inside the frame.
fantastic.
So we know, we plan ahead where this is gonna go
Right,
on the window like that.
fantastic.
But you gotta plan ahead.
Right,
So that's a part of the design. So that's gonna go all the way around and hold the window in place.
wow,
And then I'll come back and I'll paint the wood stops. But you have to plan ahead, students. You can't go, oh, how are we gonna hang it? You have to know way ahead of time.
and I bet you have a lot of mathematical calculations for all this stuff, don't you?
There are, both of us,
You have to be good at math.
we have to be good at math to be a professional artist and artisan to do this type of work. Because if you make a mistake,
Yeah, there's no going back.
it's very hard to fix the mistakes once you've put in 100 hours building a window.
Of course, I understand
Now.
that. Okay,
Now, part of this challenge, students, some of the windows will have these wood stops, and this other window, this is a part of our work,
oh,
will have this,
oh, I see.
the cheap pegless window. And this is built by our friend the welder.
Yeah,
It's like a little window frame
right,
with hooks. So this we have to plan ahead because that window that goes to Cheap Pegasus is gonna hang in
Have
the
to-
front display area.
right. And
Look
see,
at it.
and that's gonna be its frame.
This is gonna be the frame.
Ah,
Okay? That's a part of the work that we have to do so that the pattern over there, Pani Ingrid,
on this one over here,
that pattern
yeah,
fits perfectly
into your frame.
to the frame, like this.
That makes perfect sense to me.
And then, when we cut the glass and grind it,
Yeah,
it's gotta fit perfectly there, and then it comes over here, as Matt just did soldering, and it has to
fit perfectly there.
perfectly within, what, 1/16 of an inch, 30 seconds.
Okay,
Because we can shave the lead later on, but
Right.
we don't wanna do too much of that, because that's
Right.
not the ideal. But that's how everything unfolds.
very cool.
So it's very cool, it's very mathematical. We had to study math in high school and college
Yeah, to be able to do this work.
to be able to do this work.
What's Matthew doing here in the meantime?
Matthew's doing some neat stuff.
Oh, he does
Solder
all
on the
in there.
backside.
Oh, wow. Solder on the back.
While we were doing this, he flipped
The window.
the window over, but it's also beautiful on the other
It
side.
sure is, because
So-
you get to see through it, right? So that's the
You
whole
get to
point.
see through it. So if you're, for this one, if you're walking from the side, or for the other Prince Edward windows, if you're outside looking in, it's going to be beautiful.
Right. It's beautiful any way you look at it.
Yeah.
Okay. This is the front door of Prairie Stained Glass, and you can see there's a bunch of windows in here already. They're going to try and make this one.
Underneath the lily?
Underneath the lily, they say.
Do you want to see it getting flipped off?
Okay, I do.
Now this is a special way
To flip
to
windows.
flip windows. You have to go to find a center pivot
Oy,
and gently turn.
that's pretty scary, Matthew.
And you got to be careful because you spent so
Much time making this window. And the lily is straight above it.
You could
Okay,
just
well,
crouch
I'm
a
gonna
bit.
just gonna see how this looks. Look at that.
Look at that.
EUBP at RETSD since 1980. That's gonna be a cheap headless.
Yeah.
Wow, that's fantastic.
And that's permanent paint because
Yeah.
when I painted that on the glass, we'll show you the oven.
Right.
We put it in an oven and it bakes, so it'll be there for 100 years.
Wow, that's fantastic.
Longer.
Even longer.
Longer.
So we'll all be gone, students will graduate, and they will still have this commemorative window.
That's such a great thing. Okay, I'm gonna take a little break here.
Okay.
And we'll see what you're gonna do now.
It's a glass cutter with a diamond piece stone on the end.
Wow.
And this is very hard to do. And
So you've got a cut glass with a diamond?
with a diamond bit,
Wow.
then
And you break it right off.
you break it right off.
Look at that.
But we have to do it according to
Your plan here.
the plan over here.
And where do you put that piece of glass you just
Now that one was gonna fit in here.
Uh-huh. So you're not finished cutting this.
I'm not finished now, students. What happened here, unbend, nothing is ever perfect.
Oh yeah, so you have to cut that little piece off.
I
Right?
have to cut this
Again.
a little piece off and then there.
You kind of clip it.
You clip it. Now to flatten that edge, I can go over here to this machine.
Oh, well, let's see what we
This
can do with
machine
this.
helps us. Am I okay over here, Matt?
Yes, sir.
This is a special machine. It's fabulous.
Holy cow.
And it's powered by water. You gotta be
Yeah.
careful.
Well, I
wanna
think I
come
better
through here?
come around here and see it, eh?
It's called a diamond router and it's got a diamond bit in it.
Holy cow.
And then it helps us to do,
Oh, so you make a nice straight edge.
well, because
That's amazing.
see? And the reason why it's wet is because that helps
Hmm.
it helps the diamond
Right.
and it helps do a good job to give us a good edge.
I bet it does.
Then that
Okay.
piece we check
Now
to
we've got to
see,
go back here.
but it's gonna be a little bit wet and that's
Okay. So you just kind of
And
dry it
then you
off
go
there.
back to wherever it was,
Yeah.
I forget where this piece was, and you see how it's gonna fit, and it's gonna fit my edges good there and there,
Mm-hmm.
see? This is part of what we do when we make these art
What are you
glasses.
doing in there?
This is a special powder, it's a special pigment and gum arabic, which is like gluey
Yeah.
substance, and this is pestle mortar dish, and we grind it, mix it,
And then what
and
is that?
it gives a special consistency, and then that's like creating paint.
Oh, really?
So look at this. And then we go on here like this, and we paint.
Wow.
You see?
And that's how you make the color.
And that's how, this is a beautiful deer.
That is a beautiful.
But what you saw over there
Yeah.
were the words and the books from
Right.
the students. So then what we do here, we take these
Yeah.
little pieces,
And then,
look at this.
holy
We
crow,
put
what is
them
this?
in here, look at this. They go to sleep overnight.
Oh, so then they dry, right?
Well,
Not
then
really?
we put all those pieces on this beautiful bed.
I see.
We close
Close
the
it up.
door,
Uh-huh.
and then, where's the dial? Here.
There's a dial?
There's a
Oh,
dial
look
and
at
a
this.
computer, and we push the time it's going to
Neat.
bake
Okay.
in this special oven.
So this is like a kiln here.
This is a kiln,
Wow.
and it's made specially for these little pieces of glass.
Mm-hmm.
So that paint which you saw me paint on
the
that
deer.
little on the deer
The same paint you did for the books.
for
and,
the books,
and the lettering on
and
that.
Matt and I
EUPD.
did that. Well, that was finished about a
Uh-huh.
month ago.
Right.
Because everything's done, planned in stages.
Right.
So then we close this carefully,
Right.
clip it, lock it, computerize it. It bakes all night.
Wow. That's cool.
1200 degrees Fahrenheit.
1200
1200
That
degrees.
is hot.
It's not your oven at home.
No.
So you cannot touch that. You got to stay away from it and let it do its
I
job.
bet you do. That's why you probably do it overnight too, right? Nobody's here.
Right, and no one's here because it's safety.
Yeah.
And there's an exhaust, special exhaust.
Yeah.
Then, when the computer says it's done,
Yeah. You unclip it and away you go.
unclip it.
Open it up and then you take your little piece of glass.
And then woo, look at that.
Wow.
Then that paint is going to stay there for 100 or more years
Wow,
because it's
incredible.
inside the surface of the glass.
Of the glass because it's so hot.
Because it's so hot.
Oh.
And if we don't do that,
Yeah.
if someone was walking past the window
Yeah.
and they accidentally rubbed against it, and if it all comes off, if it's not done well, then it
Then
doesn't last.
It doesn't last.
Okay?
Well, thank you for explaining this process,
Yeah.
Ben. This is fantastic.
It's very exciting.
Very exciting.
And it takes years and years and years, and
I
we learn
bet
how
it
to
does.
do these things. Let's go see those finished windows in the front.
okay.
So there is going to be something for all the viewers
Yeah.
to enjoy
Yeah.
forever and ever. And Pan Ben put a date, so we will remember
That's so great.
which date, which year we had this project to commemorate the programs and educations.
Wonderful.
Children enjoy the windows, and teachers and educators, we're going to have them installed in a couple of weeks, and it will be again a magical event.
Fantastic. Thanks so much. It's been an amazing ride.